I think you should believe opinion polls sometimes, but I think people can manipulate it in whatever way they want to, especially politicians, which are known for that anyway.
It's lovely to, to open a newspaper at home and be able to see what the public are feeling and what people are thinking. But at the same time, it all depends on, on who's been asked, where, when.
They shape opinions, they massage opinions, and I don't think they're democratic.
I'll show you a graph first of all. These are the polls.
The swing suggested by the polls is a mere 3%, only a couple of seats.
Opinion polls are sort of the public form of political gossip, who's up, who's down, who's doing well, who's in, who's out. And in the end, politics is about who is the most popular with the public.
All politicians deny being led by polls. I mean, if you ask a politician, the poll shows you're doing disastrously or 15 points behind or something like that. So, oh, I don't pay any attention to the poll. The only poll that matters is on polling day. Well, that's baloney.
People often use opinion polls to test out, well, if we said this or we took this line on a policy or we changed our mind on something else, how would the public react? That gets into quite tricky territory because to an extent the job of a politician is to decide what they believe in and to then try to persuade the public to believe in it.
For newspapers and media outlets, they're partly a marketing tool because they can make headlines, they'll get picked up by other papers. Also, it's what they regard as part of their tool for covering politics.
The very fact of reporting that the public thinks something then makes the public more likely to think that. The classic example being levels of Liberal Democrat support in parliamentary by-elections, where very often when the party support has begun to grow and therefore there have then been tangible signs of that, including sometimes constituency opinion polls, then more people support the party, and so you get this bandwagon effect that can roll and roll and roll.
My experience of going out and knocking on doors during election campaigns is that people will play back to you the opinion polls, not directly, but they'll say things like, well, of course you're behind at the moment, aren't you? And things like that.
If you hear that Gordon Brown is behind every day, you're not likely to, cast your vote for him. You think, well, he's a loser, so what's the point of me backing him?
And the winner is Nick Clegg.
Hello, Chris.
Or at least so say the post-debate polls and even his political opponents.
Suddenly they are pushing Labour into third place. And it gets better for them. Amidst all the Clegg mania, so-called, they then start wrestling with the Conservatives for first place here.
One of the problems with polls is to get them in perspective, to realise the difference between underlying trends and what might just be a temporary blip. And we saw that classically in the 2010 election, when there were instant polls. And it turned out that they did register quite accurately what people thought at the time. Nick Clegg's ratings rose a lot, but it was almost like a reality TV show. When you were actually asking people how they'd vote on polling day, it turned out different answers.
Interestingly, what you saw is a bit of a conflation of what people's voting intentions were and who people thought had done well in the debates. People will need to be more sophisticated about whether or not what they're polling is, do you think that X has done a good job on the television, rather than which way will you vote if the election's tomorrow.
As a journalist, my own feeling has been very much that you've got to report polls responsibly. But it's very difficult sometimes to say, actually, this poll may be wrong, or it may exaggerate it, let's be cautious.
There have been occasions, several general elections, even in my lifetime, let alone over a longer period of time, when the opinion polls have turned out to get the public opinion badly wrong. So you have to remember that they're not absolutely perfect. They are a degree art as well as a degree science.
Comrades, well, all right.